Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on the podcast, I have I have Dennis Morrison on the podcast. He is the founder of Audience Magnet. He is, how can I put it? He is a chief business storyteller, amongst things. We talked about many a different topic, the power of storytelling for businesses, how to find the audience, and basically what is the importance of storytelling for people in general and getting that message out there. He is a very interesting chap. Got to say, really enjoyed the conversation. I look forward to getting him on again, talking about a number of different subjects. So please sit back, enjoy the show, and have a fantastic day. Oh, yep, please don't forget, please subscribe as well. Please. Haha. Hello, my friends. Hello, my life warriors, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Day In, Day Out podcast. Woo! Today on episode 127, I am very privileged to have Dennis Morrison. He is, how can I put it? He is a chief business storyteller, amongst other things. He also has his own production company, but he is a man of mystery in some regards. But he is out there helping people, solo entrepreneurs, and businesses get their business stories out there. Dennis, how are you today, sir?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for asking. Yes, it's a joyous day. I try to live all days in a wonderful spirit. So yes, today is a wonderful day. Like yesterday was a wonderful day.
Yes, looking forward to the joys of spring just around the corner. Everything like that. And almost freedom from our lockdown here in the UK.
In my mind, I'm free already.
Oh, yeah. you've gone to a very you've gone to a very deep place already. If you're like, I'm in my mind, I'm free already. It's like this year of bondage. Let me be free. Let me be free. I have to ask. Yeah, Chief's business storyteller. What is that? What does that entail?
Okay, so my background's filmmaking, and one of the things that I realize, especially over the years, sometimes the penny takes a little too long to drop. Sometimes, when you know something well, you kind of going around all different places to realize that it was always on your doorstep. But people have been talking about storytelling and business storytelling, and it's the great way to communicate for so long. Um, but I realized no one was really giving people the tools so they could do it themselves. And that really got me thinking, well, everyone's talking about it, but everyone's always talking about the hero's journey. And there's many different approaches to kind of telling stories. And another way I like to describe it, storytelling is communicating. That's what it really is. So it's how can I, or how could you communicate better to attract the people who want to hear what you have to say?
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the sort of hero's journey. Like when you sort of equate that to sort of businesses, I find I find it sometimes gets lost in the mix because like when people are entrepreneurs or like companies or corporations, they kind of I don't think they kind of know what their identity is sometimes to get that across, if you get what I mean.
I think that's a challenge for many, and I think one of the things about like something like the hero's journey
Mm,
is it's kind of, if you look at Joseph Campbell and the structure of it, it's kind of vast, so many different stages, and people are thinking, well, okay, well, how does that relate to me? How does that relate to what I'm doing?
mm,
And a lot of people kind of talk about you using the hero's journey, for example, but the key is you're not the hero. Your audience, your clients, they're the hero. So when you kind of look at it in that way, suddenly you're looking at the whole structure in a very different way.
mm.
You are the guide, the mentor. So the question is, how can I guide the hero to get the outcome that they want. And I think just by flipping that enables people to think, maybe I can use it. And again, I want to emphasize this is just one that's kind of popularized and always highlighted. I don't necessarily feel it's the best, and it's great at certain times, but there are others that are great at other times. So I really kind of want to get across that it's a way of communicating, and like anything, there's many different approaches to doing it. This is a popular one that's known throughout the Western world and Hollywood, but there are many ways to kind of grab people's attention. They don't have to have the 12 stages. There's many different approaches. It's really about what's the conflict, what's the challenge, how do they get through it, what's the outcome.
Like, this is the thing. Well, when it comes to sort of the realms of business, I know, like, and companies trying to get their message out, it's a case of there's so many mediums these days to sort of get that out there, and it comes down to how you're going to do that. Like, is it a case of, is it going to be YouTube? Is it going to be a regular commercial? Is it going to be over one of the myriad of like different social media platforms? Like, do you just like, how, like, do you do that as an interconnected thing, or is it sort of more like, okay, you, like, if it was like for Instagram, you focus purely on Instagram and the sort of like you play in that sort of context, or is it, how does it go?
I think the beautiful thing about storytelling, it doesn't matter what medium you're using. As I said, it's a way of communicating. So whether it's through emails on your landing pages, whether it's through your social posts, Instagram, it doesn't matter, but it's how can I grab people's attention? And I think it's because it's platform agnostic, it's kind of freeing in a way.
Okay.
You're not like, oh, I need to be this way and talk this way here, but here I need to change. Suddenly it becomes okay. Yeah, maybe one place you could have 2,500 words, just for example.
Yeah.
But another place, you might only have 20 words or 50 words. But somewhere else, like here, the words we're using, we're speaking. And then if we're on video like we are now, this is also visual. So this is a great example of using 3 different mediums all at the same time. We're speaking, that's auditory, audio. We're on video right now, so we're communicating via video, and some people are going to see this on video. But also, if you transcribed it, this would be in written form. So I think people need to get away of thinking, how should I communicate on this platform? Or more about, how should I communicate? You know, how can I grab people's attentions by understanding the medium I'm using?
So, like, with regards to sort of communications and everything like this, and people using storytelling, like, who would you say is like you have observed and you've admired, say, out there in the sort of big wide world, who've actually used this medium of storytelling for a business or in, say, other mediums?
That's a great question. I don't want to highlight the popular people that everyone highlights. So that's one of the things I'm not interested in doing. You know, oh, this person, that person.
Yeah.
You know, I could talk about someone called Sandra. You don't know who Sandra is, but she's a great communicator. So
Great
I think
mate of mine. What are you talking about?
you know,
Around
Sandra,
my way, yeah.
she's a great communicator, isn't she?
Yeah.
And I actually think it's really important that we get away from kind of, for want of a better word, idolizing these gurus and realize we've got the stories inside ourselves. You know, where we just need to understand the frameworks and learn that skill. As I say, it's a skill that we can all improve and master. When you talk about who's doing it well, have you ever bought something? Generally, if you bought something and you went through either an emails they sent you, or read their landing pages, or read an ad, or read reviews, it was the stories within them that helped you confirm you wanted it. So I think it can be used in many different ways. I would also encourage people to just start. I think that's the important thing. Just start. It's a skill. Like any skill, we only get better by exercising that muscle. So if we kind of look at people who are really great at it, sometimes that can put us off from even trying. because we're like, oh, I could never be that good.
Mm.
However, we tell stories when we're meeting someone for, well, when people used to meet people for lunch, for example. You used to meet someone for lunch and you used to be late if you were late, and then you would tell a story as to why you were late. You know, you're telling a story as to why we should eat here over here.
Mm.
You're telling a story as to why today, you know, you're just not with it and you did this and you did that. So I think we do it so often. I like to describe it as a language that we know so well, but we don't know the details. And I think when you learn the art and craft of communicating in stories, you realize, oh, I do it already. Now I can put kind of structure behind what I instinctively do.
Mm. Yeah, like what I often find with people out there, and like you go, yeah, we're telling stories all the time. Yeah, I agree with you. We are telling stories all the time, but people, I would say the vast majority of people don't understand that they are telling stories, and they don't actually believe it's a skill worth taking up. Because, like, the whole thing is, when you talk about stories, the amount of power which is in a story, like basically, like, yeah, times of old up until modern day, like it's not like it comes in the form of a story and it resonates. It can inspire, or it can bring us down, or it can make us like go beyond what we even perceive of ourselves. So I wonder sometimes why more people don't sort of get involved in that and like, you know what? Go, hey, this is my story. Why not?
That's an interesting question. I just want to kind of take it from a different angle. I'm specifically interested in people being able to use storytelling in their business to grow their business and use it in their marketing and sales.
Yeah.
So I'm specifically talking about those kinds of stories. Um, my example before was shown that we instinctively do it. So of course, with that, I'm into purposeful storytelling. So
Hmm.
yes, there has to be a purpose, and with that, using specific frameworks and structures and learning the art of it, you can then communicate on purpose. No one really cares about when I got up and what I had for breakfast, unless there's a lesson within it that I can maybe tie to my ideal audience in terms of something they're struggling to cope with in that moment through their business, a challenge that I may be facing, and this is a lesson, something that highlights what I'm offering and how that can help someone. So I think the key is storytelling with a purpose. And ultimately, that's to attract your ideal audience. So you become the natural choice when you're offering something.
Mm. Yeah, and like this is the thing. One of the things I've seen, and I think is going to definitely be more prevalent in most companies out there with businesses, is there's going to be a huge uptake within regards to like how people tell their stories. Because okay, it's cheaper, like it's become cheaper and cheaper to sort of use the medium of video or film to get that message out there. And I think what I think is going to happen to a lot of companies, they're going to go running into it gun ho without sort of knowing how to do it properly. They will like, oh yeah, it's only it's only making a video, and they kind of miss the whole point, like as you said, the purpose behind what that message is meant to be.
I totally agree. And that's where guidance comes in. And I feel this is the challenge people are going through right now. They're hearing that, oh, we must use stories, but people are thinking, that sounds great, but how? How do I do that? Um, and no one is really guiding people. I think that's the challenge people are facing. No one's guiding them on how that they can do it using the right structures, using the right words. And if you think about great communication, great copywriting, embedded in that is great stories. And people kind of think when we hear stories, we're always thinking of a film or a TV program. We're thinking of Netflix. Yes, that's where we see lots of stories. but forget to look at the things happening within their own lives, people they know, and the stories that they hear and listen to all the time. Another thing, or I'd say another way I like to describe storytelling is it's about having a conversation,
Mm,
having a conversation with using the right words to attract your audience. And like any conversation, the more you have a conversation, the stronger the bond. The more you have questions, the more you respond to that, the more they understand where you're coming from and you understand where they're coming from. So I'd say it's about starting the conversation, then continuing the conversation. It's not about shouting. It's not about saying, listen to me and do as I say, not as I do,
yeah.
which, we've got many have heard. It's about, do you think I'm the right person for you?
Mm,
If I'm able to articulate certain things in a way where you go, oh my gosh, it's like you're speaking to me. Yes, I felt that. Then you might be thinking, you know what? This person, from what they're offering, they're my guide, they're my coach, they're the person who I feel I can learn from. And I think with lots of businesses, people are, especially service-based businesses, you're offering a service, and that service is about a relationship of some kind.
mm. Yeah, like I understand that. And like this is the thing, when like getting that sort of message across, like having that conversation. And like this is like there's kind of how can I say there's a sort of mainstream thought behind that when you talk about your company, your business, your service, where you're like, oh, we do this better, we do that better, and this is how it was and you list off one after the other. And there's other sort of school of thought which I've seen, which is kind of the Church of Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know him. Okay, basically find the why and basically go. This is okay. This is why we do it. You go with the narrative of the why, and then basically you go right from that why. Then you go right. This is how this. But at that sort of core principle, it's like why rather than against this is what we do. Like I don't know where you kind of sit within that sort of realm. It's like, you know?
No one really cares what you do. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we care, you know, what you can do for me. As they say, WIIFM. What's in it for me?
Mm-hmm.
We don't care that you've won X amount of awards and you have this widget.
Yeah.
We want to know, can you help me get to where I want to go to? Get me out of a situation I'm in, improve myself. We only care on that. So I think why is really important. And it is about asking those kinds of questions. I think that's the trap that many fall into. And I have myself doing stuff. It's like, oh, I need to say what I can do. But then you come up with the old self-conscious thing. So you kind of don't fully say what you do. And then you come off half-hearted because that's not really how you'd communicate with someone if you were face to face. And I think by asking why and understanding the why, you're then better able to answer those whys if what you offer is a solution to the whys that they've told you.
Yeah. No, I like that. I do like that indeed, because like the whole thing is like with regard to sort of Simon Sinek and like some one of the key stories he talks about is basically um he went to Microsoft, they gave him a Zoom, and like he was like going, "Oh yeah, it's the best thing, everything," like, and like then he was like, "Oh, thank you very much." Showed it to someone from Apple. Was like, "Oh, have you seen this new thing from Microsoft?" They're like, "Yeah, I don't care about that." It was like case of like, "Nah, I don't care about that." It wasn't. They weren't bothered by it. It was like, "All right, this is like, yeah, this is the reason why we do it," and they go with that sort of direction, and it's the power of it, the power of why, the power of that sort of direction for people and for organizations. Because I don't think, uh, like, as with many a person out there and organization, I don't think why is top of their agenda. They kind of like, you know what I mean, run around, don't know what their why is, and they find themselves a cropper. I don't know if you've had to sort of explain that to sort of companies before and kind of had some pushback on that in your sort of
I,
time.
I again, I think it's a real problem, because we're kind of, if we look at, we're taught to kind of talk about, hey, what we do and
Mm,
how we do it and how great we are. And this is about reframing that conversation. Yeah. It's about reframing it in a way where someone can actually, when you're telling the story, they can see themselves in the situation. If you're saying, it's interesting because one of the things I do, I kind of lecture at university, creative universities, and one of the things that they do often is they bring in some person who's won all these awards, and they design for Gucci, or they've had a films that's won an Oscar, or they've
mm,
had these commercials and stuff like that, and it's all very good and well, but it's so far removed from where the person watching is.
mm,
So it's kind of, there's no connection. And what I used to do and like doing, I used to bring in people who had left a year or two ago. So they were closer to them, but they understood the journey they'd made, but it was further than them. But also the person who was no longer there understood where they were. And I think it's getting that balance back, because really, when we're targeting and aiming for people, we only need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead. We don't need to be miles ahead. And again, I've suffered from that myself. You think you need to know so much before you can offer something. That's not true. There's so many people in this world, and so many people who are interested in how you communicate. And I think that's the thing. Because there's so many people, there's people who resonate with you. That's why we can have so many people offer the same services and the same skills, but they choose one person over another. So the key is to put yourself out there, understand that the person wants to sort their own situation out. So the question becomes, how can I frame or structure my stories in a way which can highlight maybe some of the challenges I've been through and how I got through them, maybe some of the challenges someone else has gone through and how they've got through it, but more importantly, how the person who's listening, but this is the power of storytelling, yeah, the whole idea of empathy, that people feel that they're going on the journey with the storyteller.
mm.
So if you can bring that, for those moments, they actually feel that they're that person and character. And like anything, it's a skill that takes a bit of time, but my kind of focus and aim is to demystify it. It's
Mm.
not as complicated as you think. However, it's not a one-shot thing. It's not like, oh, I think one of the things that is a little bugbear of mine
Okay, here we
is
go.
people are always talking about, you need to tell a story and that's it. And I disagree. It's about telling stories, plural, continuously at different stages, because you have potential customers and customers at different stages of the journey with you. So many people say just one story, just tell this one story and that's fine. I disagree. It's about how you communicate. And as I said, the stories don't have to be long. It's like you're just bringing people in
Yeah.
bit by bit, bit by bit. But you're not pulling, they're pulling you closer to them.
Mm.
See, that's the flip. Most people think, let me tell something so I can pull you closer to me. No, let me tell something so they pull me, as in you, closer to them.
Yeah. No, I hear that. And like this is the thing, like the way you're saying it and the way you're like basically going through it, like it kind of like it resonates kind of very much. I don't know if you know a YouTuber called Casey Neistat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Who
basically,
doesn't?
well, hey, look, yeah, Casey Neistat, right? Okay, like a king of vlogs, like the godfather of vlogs, and like basically, he started his when he went daily on his vlog. It was very much a focus thing to bring attention to his social media platform, Beam, yeah, Beam at the time to sort of help promote that. And every day for something like 5 years, he released a film in a very sort of cinematic fashion. And the stories he actually put out Some were just trivial, and you like went, okay, fine. But some were like, oh my God, you're like on this, like you're in first class doing this sort of private cabin. And it just like the stories just vary, like the variety of the stories, but the quality and the kind of message, uh, it, it kind of changed a little because it became more him like central like focus. Like started out, go, yeah, this is how you start up a business, showing the sort of steps they were going through, and then it was like, yeah, you go, that was a great peek behind the curtain. But the story, the telling, and like being able to produce something every day, that was the challenge in itself. And with the way you're talking, you kind of like like for me, it feels like you're alluding to that sort of same sort of practice principle, but there might be a little bit more something to it, if you get what like where you coming
Yeah.
from.
Okay. So I don't know about you, but the thought of making a video every day, I wouldn't want to get out of bed. So I, I kind of feel it's about consistency that works for you.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people just try to do too much. Oh, this person's doing it like that. I need to do it that way. You have someone who's got 500 pieces of content and it's great and they've got better and better. But there's also other people who have 25 pieces and they're great and you really get to know who they are.
Yeah.
So it's not about the amount, it's about communicating in that way and the consistency.
Mm.
Some may be video, some may be audio, some may be written. If you don't like video, you're a writer. It'll be in your written stuff. Some people don't like social media, so they're not going to be on social media, but they might like one medium or another. So it's like choose your medium and your platform and aim to be consistent in a way that you feel is manageable with you. And I honestly feel that if people can even just start doing something once a week somewhere, that's consistency. That's 50 lots of something in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 50. And if you can do two, yes, 100. But don't plan to do three and then do it for 3 weeks. And then you're like, oh, God, I haven't got time this week. So I would say, you start with what you can. And what I do want to emphasize, though, it is about being consistent, not about how many consistent in every day. It's about I'm going to consistently communicate, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, twice a week. Maybe it's once a week in this medium, another week in this medium, and once a month, for example, I'm making this up, but you might decide to do a newsletter to people, writing emails, so people who do come and kind of become part of your community, they get value-based emails from you. You do one a week.
Mm.
Suddenly you have 50 emails. So next year when someone joins your world, you've already got a year's worth of content for them. So I'd encourage people, don't be overwhelmed by, oh, there's so much to do, but just if you can only do one thing a month, that's 12 a year. So the key is find a consistency, keep up with that, then you can add to it. Because what I found, and maybe others have found it, when you try to do too much, one day you're like, had enough of this. And it just goes to zero.
Yeah.
Doesn't cut down, it just goes to zero. So the key is not to go to zero. And I think as well, in terms of, although I'm mentioning storytelling, I'm talking about storytelling, it's about communicating.
Mm.
Just think of it as about communicating. Let's understand that it's like there are words that work. So understanding what those words are, because they work on us. Look at what's worked on you. Analyze it, break it down. But more importantly, be consistent and take action. Nothing happens if you do nothing.
No, true words have not been spoken, sir. True words have not been spoken. And and with regards to like, I agree with the realms of consistency. It's like, look, it's one of the things which people don't act. They go, consistency. What do you mean by that? It's like, okay, like we are all dominated by consistency. If we consistently stop doing stuff, we get the results of consistently not doing stuff. If we consistently go out, like say run a mile, you get consistently better at running that mile. It's just wherever we put our focus into, that consistency will pay off, and it always does. It's just one can be negative and one can be positive. And with regards to like, okay, doing stuff like making film or like say making a podcast, doing a newsletter and anything like that, if like that sort of consistency, if it was like, yeah, you can do one a week, that's better than,
Mhm.
yeah, that's that's really great. If you can do one every 2 weeks, yeah, it's not as good as one a week, but it's still, you're getting out there. And if people know that consistency is there, great. Once
Mhm.
a month, yeah. But you got to like when people like go, how comes I'm not that far along? It's a case of you got to remember the work rate will sort of bring results to that, but you got to make sure if you want to be millions, you're gonna have to up that work rate and be consistent with it, one way or the
I
other.
actually feel we don't need millions. That's the other thing.
No, I agree. There is the like what is it, 100,000 fans thing, which is
Thousand trials and true fans. Yeah,
yeah,
Kevin
thousand,
Kelly.
yeah. But yeah, you don't need millions. I agree with that. But it's a case of when people like, oh, I want to be mega big, it's a case of be aware of the work you put in and how much content you need to produce to be on that sort of level. And as I said, as you said, and I agree with, you don't need a huge number to sort of like go, right, I've got a business, it's ticking along, and like, yeah, these people show up for me on a regular basis. I think people like we've got sort of confused with, we get caught up with the fact of, oh yeah, you've got to be a billionaire these days to sort of like, yeah, be successful. When you like go, huh? If you're a millionaire, or like if you've got 100 million, you still like, yeah, your lifestyle doesn't change that much. If you've like even if you're getting like high six figures, you can live like a king in quite a lot of places in the world. And so where you get people who look at different sort of platforms here, there, and everywhere and go, oh, they've got millions of people like watching them. They've got this going on, they got that going on, but they don't sort of like focus on be there, be that community. It might be a community of one, it might be a community of 100 or 1,000. But as long as you've got a tight knit community, there is power behind that. There's opportunity behind that for yourself and the community you like foster.
Yeah, I think communities becoming really kind of the thing that's talked about a lot, especially over the last 6, 8 months.
Ah,
There's more and more, you know, online communities that are outside of social platforms.
mm,
People are finally waking up to realize they don't own that land, and they've been building land that they don't own.
yeah.
Um, and I also feel that when it becomes too big, when we can jump around, we're not focused within that platform's community. That's why I think community is really important right now.
Mm,
I think many people are struggling to find the right community for them. And I think because they're questioning, in a way, people are questioning everything they've been told of what they need to do over the last 15 years. Right now, people are questioning that. And over the last year, people are questioning maybe what they've spent their whole life doing. They're like, actually, does that fulfill me? Does that bring me what I want? And the reality is, if we look at just the Thousand True Fans of Kevin Kelly,
mm,
if you had 1,000 people and you were able to offer something where they paid you £100 or $100 a year, that's a business of $100,000 or £100,000.
yeah.
That's life changing for most people. Now, if you had 100 people and you were able to create something of $1,000 or £1,000, that's the same math. And I think what's really changed, because this is kind of, look at us, we're in different parts of the country. We could be in different parts of the world, but we're able to interact, have a conversation, get to know each other. All these things that used to be very difficult are now broken down.
Yeah.
This is going to be on a podcast show that we don't need to go to a broadcaster to get their permission. No, this is your own show. But more importantly, your listeners are choosing to listen to you. We have YouTube and you can put videos out there. So putting stuff out there has opened up. The challenge that hasn't changed is getting people to know you exist. That hasn't changed. The distribution avenues are there, but it's about getting people's attention. It used to be the other way around. There's very few distribution channels. So how could I get on there? Because if I did, I got some attention. Now it's flipped. So it's like, how can you build your audience? And I think that's where business storytelling comes in. But it's about attracting your ideal audience. You don't want everyone. You only want those who resonate with how you communicate. And if you do, as I said, if you do services, you only want those people. You don't want problem clients. So that's how they can get to see what you're like.
Yeah. No, no, I agree. And like this, how can I put it? Yeah, with regards to like, yeah, the sort of over the last 15 years, people have been sort of questioning how things have been done. I would say, well, over the last year, there's been a like what with all we've gone through, I think there's been a lot of things which have been hyper accelerated with regards to people sort of like what their decision and what their sort of direction they're going to be going into in the next sort of maybe 3 to 5 years, or like because yeah, scores of people who've lost their jobs, scores of people who have like realized, okay, the city where I am at this present time, it might not be the best place uh, for us to be here. So it might be better to go to other parts of the country, or like go right when we can. Let me get out in the big world and travel and see what's been taken away from us like that. So it's like, yeah, there's going to be lots of questions, I think, which are going to be asked and answered over the next few years, I think.
Definitely.
Mm.
Definitely.
You were going to say?
No, I was waiting for you.
Now, basically, and like like on the other side of things, when it comes to like regards to sort of mediums and platforms, like building on someone else's land, where like with regards to other things like YouTube, Instagram, like insert like a big tech company into that. I think it's more important these days to not sort of like build on someone else's land, to build something completely independent. Because here's the thing, the world with cancel culture and everything like this, and you can go right, or if you've crossed some terms of service with some of these companies, that's it, gone. Or if you're on a platform,
Exactly.
yeah, or if you're on a platform where it's more like pay to play rather than sort of anything regarding what you put out there, it's pretty much futile, if you get what I mean. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I think right now, again, there's multiple ways to achieve the same thing.
mm,
Um, and depending on where someone is, that's what they're going to promote. So if someone offers you Facebook ads as a service, it's the best thing since sliced bread. And if you listen to that a lot, you'll believe that.
mm,
Uh, but there are also other ways to do it. I mean, it takes time, energy, or resources. You decide. You literally decide. And ultimately, what are you doing when you do ads? You're looking for people who resonate with you. I'm speaking on your show right now. Um, and there may be some people who I resonate with.
mm,
However, just by communicating and having a conversation, firstly, I'm getting myself out there. But more importantly, and I think it's more important, is a lot of times like, how can I get out there? No, it's like, how can I have more people hear what I have to offer if I know it's of value?
Mm.
And I think a lot of times we get scared because like, oh, I need more. I've been there. I've been in that situation myself. Oh, I need more. I can't put it out yet. And really, no, we're doing a disservice. We need to kind of tell people what we do, how we do. And if they're like, I like what she says.
Yeah.
I like how he says that. Let me find out more. Then you're doing what you're there to be, there to be done. Some people I know love Instagram, for example. They're there all the time and it works for them. I mean, for me, it's not my medium.
Mm.
So I'm not putting my energy in that way. I love conversations. I love speaking with people. I love teaching and training people. They're my mediums. So that's how I communicate. And that enables people to see me in the way I enjoy and like doing stuff. So choose the way that you like and enjoy doing stuff. And within that, you can use storytelling to communicate. So I think that's what's freeing about storytelling. It's not about a platform. It's not about a medium. It can be used in any and all of the above. But when you start using it and intentionally and thinking about how you're going to do it intentionally, then a few things happen. Firstly, you go, wow, I can do this. Secondly, you get more confidence the more you do it. And thirdly, you're allowing your own unique voice to shine. And I think that's where the power is. You know, people want you for who you are and how you are, not if you can be like someone else. Gone are those days. People are buying into people. You mentioned it earlier, but the idea of the personal brand is so important now because people buy from people.
Mm.
You know, the brand's kind of less important. Brands are trying to humanize themselves. But we're already that. We don't need to do that. We just need to be less like trying to be this company and more like who we are. And know that the more we put ourselves out there, the right people will be magnetized to us.
Mm. And yeah, like getting out there, putting yourself out there, having that sort of message going across. And like, look, with the sort of one of the things I do like about the medium we're on right now with regards to podcasting is the fact that, okay, too like I think there's like too many sort of snippets with conversation, or it's so rushed in such a way that a clear message gets lost in the cut, because you can't really sort of go, okay, let me drill down and explain where I'm coming from. Because like, and people assume it's like, yeah, people don't really have the attention span to pay attention to it. No, if you're saying something of value, all of a sudden you've got people which will all of a sudden pay attention and listen to it. If that was the case, no one would actually go to a cinema. No one would watch a TV show which is an hour long. Like people just like, yeah, like give me my 10 minutes. There are Avengers Endgame. Oh, that was the best 10-minute movie I've seen. Oh, it's like it doesn't work like that. And look, for example, just mentioning Endgame, they're like Marvel Cinematic Universe, 22 movies over 10 years. Like people went back and back and back and back and back. So yeah, just I feel there is more of a need of that. And this and podcasting is a medium I like to take that up. And like I think it's going to be the champion of the next, say, 10 years or however long it is.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Well, we've been telling stories for millennia. So that's the natural way to communicate. And by kind of demystifying it, breaking down the barriers, and kind of understanding the steps on how to do that better and better,
Yep.
then it can become a natural thing.
Mm.
Just like we're having a conversation now, naturally, we know when to say our piece, to pause, to listen, to respond to what someone says. We do this naturally because we've been having conversations for a while in our lives. So I want to emphasize to people is like, it's a skill that can be learnt. It's not so complicated. We hear storytelling, you're like, oh, I can't tell a story.
Mm.
And what it really is like, probably I can't identify when I am telling a story. That's quite a different question if you're asking someone that. So suddenly it's like, oh, okay, so maybe I need to learn how to identify it, because if I can identify it, then suddenly I realize when I'm doing it and I can choose to do that again at a different time, for example.
Mm. Yeah. Now, you mentioned the hero's journey earlier. I have to ask, what has been your sort of hero's journey coming like from like where you like if we go back in time from when you sort of
Hmm.
started to get to this point? Because look, you're a sharp individual, and you know what I mean? Like you've got thankfully a lot to say. But what sort where did you start this all?
It's a great question. We haven't got hours here, so I will kind of summarize it. So I kind of, when I was 18, I didn't know what I was going to do.
Mm,
Um, it's interesting because a friend of mine who I went to school with, he said when I was 16, he says, you said you were going to work for yourself. I never knew I said that. And then I actually got a job just as an extra on an ad when I was 18. And it's so put it in context, digital didn't exist when I was that age. Yeah. So when, when I went on this ad, I suddenly saw this kind of all this gear, this film stuff. And I was like, what is this? Because as far as we're concerned, you turned on the television and you watched something. It just appeared by pushing the button. So that really was my first intro into this world. And I was just like, I want to do that.
mm,
So after deciding that, I think I spent 9 months pounding the concrete in Soho, looking for my first gig as a runner. I used to go 3 times a week, knocking on doors, saying, I want some work. So my journey was starting as a runner, right at the bottom. And then after doing that, actually, I worked in a post-production company first, and I hated it. It's just run by bankers. It's miserable.
uh,
You should just it was just not fun, and that's when I transitioned into production. But after working, I decided, you know what, I want to do this, and I'm not going to gain the skills that I want to gain by just working
mm,
at a company. That's when I decided to study film. So I applied and studied for film. I'm probably the last generation to edit on film as well. So yes, people do shoot on film now, but no one edits on film. It's just transferred digitally. And then did all that, enjoyed it, and then suddenly you're in a big, bad, wide world, but no one's taught you how to get a job. We're fantastic. We know how to make stuff. We understand how to use the gear and how to craft stories and all of that. But they don't teach you, how do I get work? How do I communicate in a way that I can get employed? And I
mm,
think that's a big challenge with a lot of creatives. People aren't taught that particular skill. So the challenges of many freelancers and creators will relate to this. You go from job to no job to job to no job. You're really busy for 6 months, then you're quiet for 4 months. However, I think anyone who decides to be creative, you've chosen ultimately to be an entrepreneur. You're going to be you're going to be active to get work, and that suddenly that's becoming an advantage now. I think all the spreadsheet people, street people, all the people who do all these office jobs, suddenly realizing the creatives have the key. We thought they were a side thing, but they're the most important thing. They know how to connect and communicate. They know how to grab attention. So I think if you look at all the mediums, what we do now, you're a broadcaster. You've created a show, you're a broadcaster. People who do videos, you are broadcasting there as well. You're creating videos, whether it's live videos, whether you're constructing some promos, all the very things that people used to laugh at you and say, hey, when are you going to get a real job? They're integrating into their work.
mm,
Anyway, getting back to my story, I've run a production company. I've created lifestyle entertainment programs that have been sold on cable channels. And the usual problem that happens, we create stuff, we put all our energy in as an independent, and they say to us, oh, we love that. Have you got 24 of them? And we're like, It's taken us ages just to do 6. So they were all the barriers. You know, I remember when digital came in, buying one of the first digital cameras for independence. So that's been my journey.
Mm.
And up to the point of, I'd say, I'd probably say about 11 years ago, I kind of went, hmm, I don't really want to do stuff for agencies and stuff. Okay, you've been doing this all your life. So what are you going to do?
Mm.
And that kind of tied in with me teaching. So I've been teaching filmmaking for many, many years now. I'm currently kind of head of post production at 2 independent film schools where I teach people storytelling and editing. Uh, as you can imagine, I've run a business without knowing how to do anything. I haven't even covered a whole nother area. That would be another podcast in itself. I also created a platform for short filmmakers to sell their films to mobiles on mobile devices. This is pre-iPhone. You know, put my heart and soul in it, learn all about the tech, used to go to Cannes, talk on panels, all of that. And the business launched when the 2008 recession came in, and it didn't work out. Didn't work out. That was hard to take. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't just the recession why it didn't work. You know, there are fundamental things that I did wrong.
Mm.
So these are the kind of the learning scars that I've had, and I wouldn't call them, you know, these are items of beauty because they've helped shape who I am today. So that's how I kind of realize I've got some real skills here that can help people. I've taught people how to build websites, many small businesses, you know, and solo business owners. And it's like a bringing together of all of that now. And that's what Audience Magnet is. So I've had my failures, I've had my journeys, I've had my ups, I've had my not so ups. And I'd say right now, I'm totally being myself, offering what I can do best, interested in those who are interested in what I'm saying if it benefits and helps them and they feel it can.
Mm.
And I'm just encouraging people to do the same. I'm doing everything in my power to walk the walk that I talk about and offering. That's what
Yeah.
I'm doing. And within that, I'm going to stumble. I'm going to do some great things. I'm going to learn a lot from other people. And even these conversations, part of this is connecting with people, finding and connecting with other audiences, but also learning, the opportunity to learn from others who might give me insights or suggestions or ideas, or I can just see what they're doing and that can inspire me. So that's where I am in my journey. And my focus is really helping people communicate so they can grow their business, because I'm really focused on giving people real skills so they can do it themselves. That's kind of, if I look at what I've been doing my whole life, is giving people real skills so they can do it themselves. And I'm just continuing in that tradition.
Yeah. No, you know what? I love that. Like, because like this is the thing. You you are a teacher, but more importantly, you are a practitioner in the arts. Because like this is the thing. Like I have seen like the old adage of, ah, you can teach, but can you do? And like the whole thing, when you hear someone go, yeah, do this, do that, and do this, if you're not a practitioner in it, and especially in today's environment, it's like going, I want you raise some good points, but you can't you can't lead me to like you can't lead me to the promised land with the words you have. You might have some really good stuff, but you can't. But what I find interesting, like when you started back in the day, like going, okay, yeah, they didn't teach me how to find a job with regards to that sort of side of things. I think now in today's light, if you were starting out, it'll be a case of jobs will most probably not be the sort of first and foremost. It'll be a case of how do you do that setting up the business? How do you sort of do that step of it? I think I don't like you
Exactly.
hear like one or two sort of people out there going, yeah, who are doing that. Oh, this is what we do, and like this is what I'm doing as my company. But I think that's sort of where more of the emphasis needs to be done. Sort of like this is how you set up your business, and this is what you need to do. Like, yeah, these are the like different tools which are out there to
Hmm.
make that happen. And yeah, uh, it must be kind of a bit of a mind blowing sort of seeing how, especially your sector, has just evolved and grown over that time. You like because you like right on cutting edge. You may have been a little bit too early for what you were doing.
I was with some of the things, definitely, yes.
So like
And that's
what?
how you grow and learn. I
Yeah.
think now is the right time in terms of what I've been doing and what I'm doing. It's now's the right time. You know,
Mm,
people are aware the importance of communication and how to communicate, and more important, people are realizing that they need to be able to do that themselves consistently. I
yeah.
think that's the big change that's kind of been growing and happening.
Mm. So what would you say is the one thing which just you went, where on earth did that come from? Which changed in your sector?
Oh, tell me what you mean. Digging deeper. I don't fully
Uh,
understand the question.
Basically, you like basically you see your industry was one way. What was that sort of like um epiphanal like thing or moment which you didn't see coming, which happened in your sector? Is there one thing, or did you like were you sort of like I see it all?
But I'm not sure how to answer that question, to be honest. I wouldn't say there's one thing. There's a culmination of things
Mm.
that happen at different times that create a situation.
Okay,
So I couldn't pinpoint a one thing,
right.
um, but it's gone all the way from when I bought the first digital camera. That that was a big thing. That was many years ago. You know, people laugh. What do you mean first digital camera? But yes, literally their first digital camera that could be used on a professional basis. Camera gear went from being 25 grand to 3 grand.
Mm,
That's a massive leap. No, now the quality people can get for 500 quid, it's out of this world. So maybe that was the big turning point. That, when, I started my kind of production company many years ago where I was able to you still needed a bit of money, but suddenly you had zeros and more taken off. So it felt attainable to us small independents. So I think that was probably a big turning point then, a long time ago. But like anything, is evolution. You can say DSLRs and all these cameras, that was a turning point as
yeah,
well.
yeah. No, because like this is the thing. I did like when I was in university, I did a module where you had to do film, and like yeah, we had the old like Sony Betamax V8 like cameras, and I basically had the huge editing desk, and they were like going, okay, fast forward, rewind, like yeah, put the cut into the it like I'm like going, okay, a desk which was most probably about 2 meters long, doing all of that, and now today, like yeah, you can do it all on like yeah,
Exactly.
laptop.
Now you're saying that, I do know a big turning point. You've highlighted something because that's how I started. Probably was the MacBook Pro,
Mm,
Final Cut Pro. That was the big turning point. For the sake of, I can't remember how much was the MacBook Pro. For the sake of 2.5, 3 grand, an independent could have the tools to edit on a computer their video. That was a massive turning point. Again, previously, just to have an Avid that wasn't that good, you needed 50 to 100k, let alone the top ones, which is 250k. So
mm,
these are the turning points that feels archaic now when people look at it. What are you talking about? I can edit on my phone, but these were massive turning points in how kind of the industry and the accessibility, I would say, of video. And then we got the iPhone in terms of the video. That kind of suddenly mean anyone can do the videos.
mm,
DSLRs and being able to kind of use kind of photography lenses and having depth of field, all of these different things, micro four thirds when that came in. So all of these different things are all the evolution of it, where you can pinpoint these little incremental changes that have made it commonplace now. Now you say to someone, send me a video. If they don't have a camera, they got a webcam. So I think the technology has become normalized,
Mm.
and that's great, because it's about what do you create, how do you communicate, what have you got to say, who are you saying it to, why would they listen to you, how do you create something so the right people may listen to you, maybe you can get on their radar. Suddenly it becomes that, not what gear do I need, do I have the gear.
Mm.
So nothing's stopping us now. Nothing's stopping us now. And it's very, very affordable. When you don't have any money, of course it's not affordable. But
Yeah.
in the context of what it used to cost, it is affordable. And if you don't have any money, but you have a computer and a laptop, you already have a mic and a camera. So don't let that stop you doing things.
No, very true, very true. Like, because like when you like talk about the sort of astronomical prices of times gone by, and like I kind of like one of the thing which I'm an addict to is I like watching my sort of tech videos on YouTube, and like when like all of a sudden this camera comes out, every sort of tech YouTuber's on it, going, oh, it's the best thing since sliced bread, and you kind of like go, okay, I get that, but yeah, there's certain things which they go, yeah, this is amazing. When they go 8K, I'm like going 8K. There is no way anyone has got a computer right now to deal with 8K on a sufficient level, because
Exactly.
who is watching 8K? But I go, put that aside. But you kind of, I look at the technology which is out there now, which you can do so much with. Like, for it, all you need is a body and like two prime lenses and a lens which, you know, I mean, like 24 to say 70 with that sort of focal range, and you're up and running. It's
Exactly.
like yeah, that's how I would do it. But yeah, um, what do you think? Like, with all of this going on, how do you think this future might shape out to be for?
Oh, in what context? Tell me the context you mean, the future. That's a big question.
Well,
So,
okay, let me narrow it down with regards to uh, how do you think content creation is going to sort of more focus down to? Like, is it going to be like sort of specific continuous stories? Is it going to be a case of more sort of say podcasts? What do you think might that be? Because I see how it might happen in the realms of music and the sort of streaming and everything like that, but in the sort of realm of film content creation, what do you think it might be?
oh, specifically film content creation we're talking
Yeah.
about now.
Yes, because
Okay.
you're a filmmaker, or if you
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so that's different to people creating videos and communicating. So that's why I want to understand the context. Um, More and more people can make, we've got black magic cameras, we've got some great cameras, as you said, 4K, 6K, 8K. There's some amazingly beautiful stuff people are creating. I said it earlier, the issue is how can I get people to see what I've created? That hasn't changed in 20 years. That's still the challenge. However, nowadays we're competing against everything. We're competing against someone being on social. When people are out, someone going out for a meal, someone out going to the theater, someone speaking on the phone, someone being on their phone. We're competing with all of this, someone watching something on Netflix. So we're competing with all of these things nowadays. I think that's the challenge. And I would encourage that we only, go to the 1,000 true fans, but start with 10 and then 100 and then increase in that kind of way. Because if we look at, I think one of the things that kind of limits and kind of takes away, can erode people's confidence, and this happened in the past, is feeling that if I don't have 100,000, if I don't have 1 million, I'm not worthy. And now it's like, no, people who are interested in what I have to say, and I'm worthy to them because they're giving me their time, their attention. That's the most valuable thing. And then if they like it, they may tell someone else. And that other person may say, hey, this is cool, this is not. So I think the idea of connecting with people, there's more and more stuff. It's becoming harder and harder and harder and harder and harder, to be quite honest. You know, people are on social swiping past things very quickly. We're very impatient. We're on YouTube. We're like, hurry up, get to the point. Jump to a bit. Yeah, I want that bit. Jump. Next thing.
Yeah.
And again, that's a different viewing experience. That's kind of a lean forward viewing experience. You know, lean forward viewing experience is, if you ain't saying something that I'm interested in, I'm going to jump forward or skip, which is very different to, say, watching something on Netflix or the cinema, which is a lean back experience. All right, I'll give you a bit of time. Come on. Yeah, I'll let it go. I'll let it grow. So I'd say the platform and the medium is important, and how people watch things as well is important. I didn't fully answer your question because I'm not sure where it's going to go. I know more and more stuff's going to be made. I know that there's so much stuff now that we can't even watch half the great stuff that's created. There's great episodics and there's 5 seasons of them, and someone said this is great, and you're like, yeah, that's on my list. There's so many great things that are being created, but they're competing with our time. And podcast comes into that. And this is the beauty, I feel, of podcasts. Because it's audio, we don't need to be physically sitting down in front of a screen to experience it. We can be doing many things, whether it's walking, driving, cooking, washing up, you know, having a shower, having a bath. This is a great medium. That's why people are willing to spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, hour and a half listening to things when it's a conversation. And it's challenging. It's challenging to work out what the future is going to be. But you know what? Worry less about what the future is going to be and just think about, how can I find something where I feel comfortable with and start doing that, as we said earlier, more consistently, whether that's weekly, whether that's bi-weekly, whether that's monthly, whether it's 2 or 3 times a week, and just start in that kind of way. So I've brought it back from filmmaking, the filmmaking business, all the way to you as an individual and how you can use the medium to connect. Because really, everything is competing for our attention.
Yeah. No. Like, yes, getting heard over the fray is one of the more sort of difficult things. And like, with regards to like the future, I know it's kind of an open-ended question. It's like, I just always try to sort of get a gleam of what people think like some of the directions are going to be. Yeah, like the realm of content, it's crazy at this present time. Look, just this month alone, just this month alone, if you kind of take a look at Netflix, there is something all coming out every single Friday, bam, 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 bam. And now you like, if you take a look at HBO Max, which is coming out there's like, films upon like Snyder Cut this month, everything like this. This month is a mental month. I'm talking about large sort of organization creators, not talking about sort of every sort of individual creator who are producing content en masse, like who are like putting out, say, like if it's YouTube, maybe one YouTube video a day, like a day or a week or a month, or basically with podcasts. Yeah, if you're doing like the sort of Tim Ferriss route, who I think for the first 3 years he did a podcast 7 days a week for 3 years, which
Wow.
you kind of like go, okay. And his podcast, from what I hear, I haven't listened to him because I can't do that much. I wouldn't have time to do this myself. But you're talking anything from maybe half an hour to an hour, maybe even longer. Who knows? But it's still just so much content out there, and just getting over that fray. Yeah. Because I remember having a conversation with regards to Spotify and how they do sort of like the streaming with regards to music. And like it was a gentleman named, I believe, Kevin James. It was like talking about how music's gone from like say 3 to 4 minutes down to sort of 2 minutes 40 seconds, 2 minutes
Mm,
40 seconds, so they can just get more streams, more streams, more streams. And I said to him, like, with the realm of what Spotify is doing, especially in the sort of podcast realm, that's going to start surely eating into music. And like because like they don't have to pay, say, a royalty on that music, and like on with regards to podcasts, it's going to be like, yes, we're getting the advertising funds, we give something for the advertising, but we're not paying that royalty. So it's a saving right there. And so it's like you kind of look at that sort of changing medium and go, trouble might be ahead for the music industry where it everything gets eaten into it a little bit more. But
mm,
it's a crazy time. Uh,
mhm.
it's an exciting time of opportunity, I say.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Now, I have to reveal. I don't. Well, I've revealed this on a number of occasions, but I am a supreme being of cosmic power and influence, and I can grant you one wish before you say anything. And you may have listened to like podcasts or whatever. You can't wish for world peace. You can't wish for COVID to be gone because look, last like I agreed to that, and like yeah, it involved bringing in the power of Dolly Parton to get something done. And look, I've only got so much cosmic currency out there. As I look, and you can't be writing down a list of things on a piece of paper and go, I wish for everything on this list to come true. No. What would your one wish be?
Freedom,
Freedom. Freedom. What type of freedom are we talking about?
mind, body, spirit, soul, freedom.
Okay. Okay. Mind, body, spirit, soul, freedom. Like very deep and profound. Like, okay. I'll see what I can do about that for you. Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Freedom starts in the mind, and I think most people who are creating their own business, offering services, ultimately that's what people are striving for.
Mm,
Freedom of choice, freedom to do what we want when we want without being beholden to someone else. I think that's what many people are striving for. So that's what, with your cosmic power, I'd like you to bestow that to as many people as possible.
oh, you cheeky son of a bitch. It's like, you cheeky son of a bitch. It's like, as many, I knew, right. It's like, okay. I shall see what I can do to as many people as possible. Oh, God, that freedom. I said, okay, yeah. Okay, I see what I can do for one soul right there. As many people as possible. Son of a bitch. You, sneaky, sneaky. Okay, no worries. Uh, I, okay, I'll get on that for you right away. Yes, gonna have to give it a few months. Yes, the great and powerful Dolly Parton. I can't call up on her power again, but that's another story. But yeah, can you tell the lovely people out there how they can get hold of you, how they can reach you out on the big wide world web?
Okay, well, I'll love to give your listeners a free gift. And it's the 4 types of storytelling with 60 ways to engage your ideal audience.
Mm,
So I've given them the link, which is theaudienceMagnet.com/day in, one word, dash day out. Nice and easy to remember. You go there and you get this free gift from me for listening. This is going to help you look at the different ways and mediums that you can start using storytelling.
okay. Perfect. What I'll do, I'll put that in the description, the show notes. So everyone, please go out there, click on the link. Yeah, make it happen. Make it happen. Now, so let me say,
And
yeah.
just to include my other links, they can go to audience magnet, audience magnet.com. or they can find me, Dennis Morrison, on the socials. Not big socials, but I probably use LinkedIn more than others, but I'm present on all of them and I do pop in now and again.
Yes. Don't you worry. Yes, he does pop in now and again. Yeah, but watch him. He's a little bit crafty with some of the things. But yeah, okay. What I'll do, I'll put all of that information down in the show notes and make sure you click on the links, get hold of him. But yes, let me just say this, Dennis. I got to say thank you for coming on today. You have been a superstar. Yeah, I'm going to love to get you back on sometime in the future. Most probably talk a little bit more about tech and stuff as well.
Great. I love tech. So, Miwa, thank you so much for inviting me on your show and give me the opportunity to speak to your listeners. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed it.
Oh, you see? Yeah, I love that. Love that. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'd like to say thank you to you, my friends, my life warriors out there. Please stay safe, stay well, be awesome, be excellent, be fantastic, be all the positive bees you can be in this world and more. Have a great day, guys. Yes. Peace. And we are.